Hi, my name is Chris, and I just kind of wanted to catalog or give a timeline as to what I've been waiting on for the last few days. Let me just start with I was adopted. My parents picked me up on a plane in Chicago and brought me to a little rural town in Ohio. Fast forward to 2019. I am married. I have two grown adult children, and my husband and I, we're just living the empty nest life. We're enjoying a lot of things that empty nesters would do. One of the things that I had asked my husband for Christmas last year was a ancestry DNA test, and I mostly wanted it to find out, if I had any living relatives, and because I've tried like 3 or 4 times to find any kind of birth family. I've not had any success in that. On Christmas Day, my husband got me this. It's from 23andMe, and when I first got it, I was like, oh my gosh, he actually got something that I wanted. But, and so, I unwrapped it and I was really excited about it. But, I just kind of like put it under the computer and I was like, well, maybe I don't want to find out what the answer is, because, I mean, since I'm adopted, and I've had some health problems, and my kids, they have health issues as well, and I was just curious as to see, if anything that I had was going to be given to them. And, I was kind of scared about doing it. I went ahead and on Christmas Day or the day after, I had registered the kit onto the 23andMe website, and so they've had my kit registered on their system. So this last week, it's the first week of July, but when I first opened the kit, it had like this big vial that you had to spit in. And I didn't realize that, I thought I had to fill up like this much spit, and which is not true, but I did. I made sure I didn't have anything to drink or eat 30 minutes before. So I, was spitting into it, and, sent it off in the mail. I downloaded the 23andMe app, and I've been watching my email, and I received an email or a notification saying that they had received my kit. I've been watching every day, and since yesterday was a holiday, I kept checking it. So I just logged into the website, and it says that my results are expected by July 24th, or that it may take up to August 7th. So up until then, I'm probably going to be checking the app, checking my email every day up until then. But it says that they're extracting the DNA from the cells in your saliva sample. This step usually takes 1 to 2 weeks. I'm really nervous because I don't have any idea as to what they're going to find out. I'm sure this is nothing new for anybody else, but I told my husband the other day, I'm going to be really upset if the results come back and say, you're Asian. Duh, I know that. So today is July 7th. I have been waiting the last couple of days just to hear something back from 23andMe, and wasn't really expecting to hear anything back for several days. But today, or this morning, I was just flipping through my phone, and I got an email from them saying they're genotyping my DNA. Now, I watched the video, and I've watched it now twice. I don't understand what they're saying. And it just says, thanks to this technology, we're able to read around 600,000 letters in your DNA, which power your 23andMe results. And then they're going to use those probes to turn the sample into knowledge. Still don't understand what any of that means, but as long as they know what they're doing, that's all that matters. As far as we know, I am from South Korea. At least that's what I've been telling people, because that's what it says on my birth certificate. That's where the orphanage was that they placed me in. I was adopted through Holt International. I have been mistaken a lot of times for being Chinese. I've heard one person tell me that they thought I looked more Hawaiian. I'm proud to say that I'm from South Korea. It just doesn't seem like a whole lot of people know about that. Their first two instincts when they come and see me is, are you Chinese? Are you Japanese? I guess that that I was born in Seoul. That is probably not true. One time I did check into my adoption. I tried to contact the orphanage from which I was found in. The orphanage is no longer there. I guess I'll never really know about my past. With my kids, they have a whole realm of family history through their father. But for me, they have nothing. They just have what has been going on with me. So, you know, that's something that I've had to deal with. I a lot of times forget that I am from, or I'm Asian. My kids are half Asian and half Caucasian, thanks to their father. I look at them and they don't even look Asian to me. But I a lot of times don't see their Asian culture in them. Now my youngest, she looks somewhat like me because when she smiles, I would say that she looks probably more like me. Mostly because when she smiles with her eyes. Oh gosh. I didn't think I was gonna cry. And my oldest one, I would say that she looks more, or you know, I've heard a lot of people say that she takes more after her dad. I love them for who they are. There's been a lot that we've gone through. Yeah. Boy, am I going on a tangent. I don't know, growing up a lot of times, I just kind of have wondered about my parents, who they are, or, you know, if I look like anybody in particular in my family. I don't know, there's been a lot of times where I felt like I take a lot from my dad. I guess I have more of a type A personality. You know, I'm very by the book. I'm very straight-laced. And that a lot of times I hate about myself. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Most importantly, God is working on it with me. I've often wondered, you know, if I look like my mother, even though I may have the same characteristics as my father. One of the things that I did read in there is that it said that I like to show other kids how to dance, and both of my kids, especially my oldest one, they were in dance when they were growing up, and I just thought that that was really neat how, you know, that I was kind of into that when I was younger. And I guess today, you know, there's a part of me that would like to go dancing. been trying to pull my husband out onto the dance floor, and it's just not his thing, and I get that, so I'm okay with that. There was one time when I was a teenager and I was working at one of my first jobs. I was out in the lobby cleaning or mopping the floors, and there was this customer that came in through the doors, and he took one look at me and he said, "Were you brought over by the war? With the war?" And being a teenager at that time, I just was like, "What in the world is he talking about?" So it kind of bothered me a little bit because I thought, well, does he think that I'm really old? And at that time I was only 17, 18 years old. Does he think that my father was a soldier and that my mother, had me and then had to let me go because, I wasn't full Korean, and because of the stigma that was going on at that time, she had to put me up for adoption or abandon me. And that kind of hurts, that, she would have had to go through something like that. Hi, it's July 9th. Still haven't heard anything back, and I kind of figured it would be. Looks like everything is still on schedule. Talk a little bit about what is in my adoption records. About 23 pages long. I'm not going to bore you with everything that's in it, but I'll just try to give you some highlights here. One of the things that, this last time that I inquired about my adoption, this was like the most extensive that I had gotten back. Like I said, it's 23 pages, but the last page is just pretty much pictures. One of them is me, I guess shortly after I was brought into the orphanage in Seoul. And then another picture of me, it looks like, I don't know how many months or days, weeks, or maybe up until the time right before I was gonna be placed into a home. But I'm just a little thing. I'm sure it says it in here how long I was in the orphanage. My Korean name was Hong Jong-yin. If you know anything about Korean names, the first name that's always would be our English version or American version of our last name first, and then it goes first name and then middle name. Growing up, when I heard that name, I wasn't very pleased with it. I don't know, it just was like, Hong, what kind of name is that? And once I really found out what the order of the name, and to know that Zhang Yin was probably my name. Through the lady that I was speaking with on email, she said that, it's probably likely that my name was that. It's just really hard to say because, like I said, the papers say I was like 2-3 years old. Hong could well have been my last name, but chances are likely it's not because that was probably the area that I was found in. So I guess that's a common thing there too, or at least it was back then. It also says something about maybe having a sister, or it could have just been something as generic as a friend or a close relative. No, and I just called them sister or sissy or whatever. But again, that's just kind of guessing maybe. I was found along the streets of Korea, and they just called it an abandonment case. My case is no different than a lot of other Korean adoptions. I actually met with the lady. She's a few years older than I am. Her story and my story sound so much alike. One of the things that I found in this, I found very interesting because I know I was like this when I was a young kid, was that I did not like to share my toys. And I'm still kind of like that today. I hate to say that. Now, if it's like my immediate family, like my husband or my daughters, or I don't mind sharing. I remember growing up, I didn't want my sisters borrowing anything of mine. I don't know why. And I always felt bad because, I always thought that that was a really bad thing about myself. But to know that, it's obvious that that was something back then before I was adopted. I was like that. So it's just kind of neat to read that. They talk about some of my scars that I have. Some of them have kind of faded away since then. Some of them I still have. One that they talk about is on the side of my head. I don't know if you can see this. I had that ever since, from what I know, since I've known me. And I think I also have maybe a few scars on my scalp. I don't know. There's sometimes I feel up there that maybe I have like a little scar or a little bald spot. They said that I had a scar on my forehead, which I can't really even see that. I don't know. Maybe you see a scar on my head and I don't see it. But I have a scar on my left hand. It's faded pretty much, but I remember when I was younger, it was pretty predominant. I often would look at it and wonder how I got that. I've always had this little mark on my cheek. But I think this scar on my cheek, it was dark and it was almost a little bit bigger than this. But I remember, it being darker when I was younger. And, I never really got too much said to me about it. But I think instead of it being darker now, it seems like it's almost gone white or lighter color. It kind of sounded like I had a rough go at it when I was really little. Whether that was from physical abuse or something else. Saying it just hinted that I was really shy, which, today I still am. A lot of people mistake me as being snooty, and I don't know, maybe I am a little snooty, but I think that I'm just pretty much shy. I have a hard time thinking of what to say to people. And, I look at other people who have the gift of gab. My husband is one of those people. My oldest daughter is a lot like that. They strike up conversations with people. They know how to keep a conversation going. Me, I am like, I don't know what to say. And a lot of times I just want to like scoot out of there and, just hide under a rock. They had adopted 2 boys before me, so I was their first daughter and I was their first foreign adoption that they had. There were more foreign adoptions that they had completed after they had received me. So, but I'm not the oldest daughter that they had adopted. They had, several years after me, they had adopted a girl about 2 or 3 years older than me. So it does say that maybe I was a little bit malnourished, which could have been the case if I was just found on the streets. It says that I had a very low vocabulary, for a 2 to 3-year-old, my oldest daughter. But I remember the day that she started walking. She was about 9 months old, and that was the day that she decided that she was going to start talking. So, knowing her, she probably did talk our ears off. She just, she has a wonderful gift of being able to talk with people. She has never known a stranger. She's very outgoing, easygoing, just a really sweet girl. Oh, here it says Uma, which means mama, and Uni, which means sister. So that is when I asked the lady that I was conversing with over email, you know, if she thought that I had a sister, if I would say, because that word came out, I guess, a lot. And she said it's very well possible that I could, but yet it could just be, you know, a generic term that, you know, for a relative or a friend, or, you know, it's just like if I would call one of my close friends, you know, a sister. You know, and it could have been something like that. There is a whole few pages here that just has a bunch of Korean writing on it, and I have no clue as to what any of that says. Some of you may be asking or wondering about, you know, with me doing this, if my adopted parents feel, I don't know, betrayed or disappointed because I wanted to do this. My mom, who will always be my mom, she told me from, you know, as far back as I can remember, that she said that she would do everything and anything that she could to help me find my family if that's what I wanted to do. So she, you know, she doesn't feel betrayed. She doesn't feel, you know, I think that she's put herself in my shoes or in our shoes, because there's 12 kids that she's adopted, so I'm not the only one. She has tried to put herself in our shoes and to kind of feel, you know, what would she feel if she were in our shoes. So, you know, I love my mom. You know, she actually just lives just a couple roads down from me now. You know, I live like maybe 5 miles away from where I grew up. It is July 10th. I didn't even really check the 23andMe account yesterday at all, because I kind of figured if something was moving along, I'd get an email or an alert on the 23andMe app. But today, before I started recording, I thought, oh, I'll just go ahead and check the account to see if anything is in there. And it's moved up 2 notches. 2. So it has already passed the genotype, which I said previously I wasn't sure what that was, and still don't. But it moved past the reviewed station. That is where the scientists review the genetic data. So they're like splicing and dicing and investigating and everything. It says that they're computing your results. We're running our scientific models on your data to produce your reports. This step takes 1 to 2 days. Here it is, the 10th. If I get it by the 12th or the 13th, I'm going to be really surprised. I guess, you know, now that it's getting even closer, I'm getting even more anxious about it, what I'm going to find out. You know, I'm sure that, you know, whatever it is that I find out, it isn't going to be really anything too shocking, I can imagine. And I've kind of gone back into doing some research on my own to see if, there's a way I can find out who my birth parents are or if I have any living relatives. I joined a couple Facebook groups, reached out to a company who does searching for family members. Sounds like it could be coming anytime now. So I'm kind of nervous, kind of anxious. Today is July 11th. Just happened to check my email, which is what I do like every 10-15 minutes, it seems like, because I do not like to have any unread messages in my email. I am one of those kind of people who has to have their email inbox unread emails to 0. So that's just a little bit about me. And I happened to see this one. It says 23andMe, and the subject title is "Your Reports Are Ready." So, give you a first-hand look as to what I am going to read. So it says, "Chris, welcome to you. The 23andMe results for Chris are in. A world of DNA discovery is waiting. View your reports." It's asking me if I want to upgrade, which I don't. Ancestry composition. Your DNA suggests your ancestry is 94.2% Korean. I was right. With ties to 3 other populations: East Asian and Native American, 99.6%. Japanese and Korean, 98.9%. Korean, 94.2. Says Seoul, South Korea, plus 5 regions. South Korea, highly likely match, 94.2%. South Korea has 16 administrative regions, and we found the strongest evidence of your ancestry in the following 6 regions. And I do not know how to pronounce like 4 of these. The only 2 that I know, 1 says Seoul, number 5 says Busan. We did not detect enough evidence of recent ancestry from North Korea. So I'm pretty sure that I'm full South Korean. Japanese, 3.7%. So I guess when people say that I look like I could be Japanese, I do have a little bit of Japanese in me. But broadly, Japanese and Korean, 1%. It says Northern Asian and Native American, 0.6%. Manchurian and Mongolian, 0.3%. But broadly, Northern Asian and Native American, 0.3%. Broadly, East Asian and Native American, 0.1%. Trace ancestry, 0.3%. We detected traces of the following populations in your DNA. Read more about the ancestry in the FAQ. Western Asian, 0.3%. Like an ancestry timeline. How many generations ago was your most recent ancestor for each population? From 1910 to 1940, they're saying Korean. From 1730 to 1820, Japanese. From 1700 to 1820, Manchurian and Mongolian. And Western Asian from 1700 to 1790. Ancestry composition chromosome painting. I've got a whole lot of red, which is detecting the East Asian and Native American, which makes sense because it's lit up at 99.6%. No Chinese, no Filipino, no Indonesian, not Vietnamese, Um, it says broadly East Asian and Native American, and of course that trace ancestry necessarily, but the thought that maybe that I could have been from another country and that, I somehow ended up in Korea or, from someplace else and come to Korea. And, that's where I was. But it does kind of put my mind at ease to know that I am pretty much Korean. So I can say that. That does help me a little bit. And I can say that I am more Japanese. I don't know, when I think of Japanese people, I think of tall, really skinny people, and that's just so not me. And one of my favorite Korean dishes is kimchi, which my husband does not like. So he's getting there, but it looks like a big major part of my ancestry did come from Seoul, which is where they have said is my birthplace. So that puts my mind at a little bit more at peace. You share DNA and ancestors with 795 other 23andMe customers. 795 relatives, 69 third to fourth cousins. It says, get to know your relatives. They are 152% more likely to have sweaty palms. 66% of your relatives have Chinese ancestry. Neanderthal ancestry. We've identified 256 genetic variants that can be traced to the Neanderthals, ancient humans who interbred with modern humans before going extinct 40,000 years ago. What? I'm just going to go ahead and give my review of what I thought of 23andMe. I sent the kit off on July 1st, which was a Monday, and they received it on the 3rd, and then here it is the 11th, and they have already given me my results. They did a really good job, I think, at keeping me informed as to the progression of the process, which, is a really big plus for me, because I want to know exactly where things are, where it is in the steps, and how much further it has. So, I think they did a really good job with that, with the communication. Some of the reports, like I was showing earlier, the Neanderthal, I don't really care about that. I guess maybe for the last 100, 200 years is pretty much all I really care about. But that's just me. I found, maybe the accuracy of it is something that I really wanted, and I don't have a bar to set it up against. But I really liked the results. They were very informative. And it showed me, some of my possible relatives. For someone who is adopted, that I think means a lot more to them. And even for some people who are not adopted and they want to know where some of their relatives are from, maybe living in a different country, it would be good for them too. But for me, that I could have a possible third or fourth cousin out there, blood relative, that means the world to me. So, and of course, they showed the links of people who I could possibly be related to. So I will, I'll pray about it and think about if I really want to get in contact with them. They were showing, like a 66% chance of, me being related to someone that would be really interesting. So I'm excited. Other than the one reporting, I really like the results. I would give them a 5-star rating. My husband's, after I read through my results and everything, I shared it with my husband. This was my first DNA genetic testing that I had completed. He suggested for me to try another, well-known company. I never even thought about that. I just thought, we'll just try this one, and I'll be fine with it. Whatever they come up with, I'll be okay with it. But now that he suggested it, I'm kind of interested to see what another company would say, if their results would be the same. And if they're not the same, then I'm going to be really concerned. But yeah, I would highly suggest, doing 23andMe. They originally said that they thought my results would be in by the 24th, after they had received it on the 3rd of July. Here it is, July 11th, and I've already received my results. Now, my timeline may be shorter because, here it is in the middle of the summer. People may not be really thinking about that. Whereas, when I got my kit back in December for Christmas, if I had not been such a lazy bum and spit in my tube and sent it off and didn't realize how easy the whole process was going to be, that maybe it may have taken a little bit longer to get my results back in. But I don't know if it was worth the 6-7 months wait, and it was just because I was too lazy or too scared to get my DNA results back. But I would highly recommend 23andMe. I didn't do any of the health aspect of the program. I just didn't really want to know that. And you can, if you decide to do this, you have that option to do that. I just wanted to do it for the the DNA aspect. And, for some that may be what all they want, which is what I just wanted. So, but hit me up if you have more questions. I can give you my limited answers that I have from my experience. But other than that, it's been real. I'm not a very good speaker. I've also noticed that I wear a lot of V-neck shirts. That's kind of weird. And I've also noticed that I've got like little fat dimples right here. They didn't naturally come because I was chubby all my life. I've always had these. I noticed I wore a pink V-neck shirt. I do know that I'm not the most patient person. I wore a black Under Armour V-neck shirt. I wore another one, I forget what color it was. And I also wore this shirt. I can't think of anything else that I wanted to talk about. I'm ready for a nap. It's been fun. It's been real.